It's that time of the year. Bracketology 2013. On all Andy Alfred. Now, your bracketologist, Andy Alfred. March, baby! Whooping it up! It's time for March Madness! I love you guys, and welcome in to this special edition of All Andy Alfred right here on ClayFan 2-3. I am your host, Andy Alfred, welcoming you into the program. Of course, if you don't know what this show is about, this is a weekly show, sports show, or daily sports show in the summertime, where we cover about the Mud Hens, the Detroit Tigers, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and so much more. NASCAR, of course. You see the Carl Edwards thing in the background, of course. But, of course, today, it's all about college basketball as we hit this Tuesday, which are the two playing games. 4 altogether. We'll play 2 tonight and 2 tomorrow. It'll be very interesting. And I'm here to give you your help for your brackets this evening, because a lot of you have to turn in your brackets by 5 o'clock this afternoon before the first playing game happens for set time limit, overtime limits, or if it's a tie, of course. So we'll see what happens, but I want to get right into the matchups for tonight's playing games. Of course, tonight's playing games are North Carolina A&T taking on Liberty College. They're 15-20, 6-10 out of the Big South. They'll take on, like I said, North Carolina A&T, or 19-6, 8-8 in the MEAC conference at 6:40 on True Television Network. Then at 9:10 will be St. Mary's, 26-6, 14-2 in the WAC, taking on Middle Tennessee, who is 28-5, 19-1 in the Sun Belt Conference. Now tomorrow, it will be Boise State taking on LaSalle College, which is the key matchup in that at 9:10 tomorrow. Boise State 21-10, 9-7 in the Mountain West. LaSalle 21-9, 11-5 in the A-10. And at 6:40 will be James Madison taking on LIU Brooklyn, Long Island University Brooklyn, at 6:40. But it is time now to get into the brackets, and let's take a look at the Midwest bracket. You know, the number 1 overall seed is the Louisville Cardinals. They'll play the winner of the Liberty game tonight, and I think Liberty will win that matchup. But Louisville will just cruise their way. I believe they will cruise their way to the final, the Elite Eight, and lose in the Elite Eight, I believe. The upsets coming out of that bracket, I think the 5-12 matchup between Oklahoma State and Oregon. Oregon looks very good this year in the Pac-10. Also, New Mexico State, St. Louis. A lot of people are picking St. Louis. I'm going to pick St. Louis as well, too. And I think that they will beat that Oregon team and carry them to the Sweet 16. A number 4 seed beating a number 12 seed, of course, that's commonly happened. But in that bracket, you also have Memphis, Michigan State, you have Valparaiso, Creighton, Cincinnati, Duke, and of course Albany. Now Duke is a very good club, but I don't think they're going to make it that far this year, folks. Even though I'm wearing the blue, devil blue today, I don't think they're going to make it that far. I think they're going to make it to at least the Sweet 16. I think Creighton will give them a run for their money, but I think Duke will pull it out in the end, as Creighton will beat Cincinnati. I think Michigan State will beat Valparaiso. Memphis will definitely beat St. Mary's. And then Memphis, I think, will lose to Michigan State. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, folks. Michigan State will play Duke. Michigan State will beat Duke. Michigan State versus Louisville in the Elite Eight. In the Elite Eight in the Midwest Conference, you have Louisville and Michigan State. Now, this has been a tough choice for me. You know, I'm a Michigan State fan, though. I will stick with Tom Izzo. He gets his club ready to go come tournament time, and you never count out Tom Izzo and the Spartans. I picked Michigan State to upset Louisville in the Elite Eight. We'll see what happens with that, and that's the Midwest bracket. Let's look across the bracket to the South bracket. Kansas, the number 1 overall seed. They'll take on Western Kentucky. blow out of the water, of course, game. 8-9 matchup is UNC, North Carolina versus Villanova. Very good matchup for North Carolina. I think they'll win that game against Villanova. Lose in the next in the round of 32 to Kansas, and Kansas will move on to the Sweet 16. Now, this is a very key matchup. I've been tossing this up. VCU versus Akron. Akron, a very good club, and they definitely were a very good club. They take on an Akron club that I've seen a lot of as here in the Midwest. We're in the MAC. It's very interesting to see how those two match up. I think VCU will get the victory out of that one. And then Michigan versus San Diego State. Michigan will easily get the victory over that because it is a home game. They're playing in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Michigan State game, by the way, and the Michigan game are home games for them because they are playing those in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the Palace. So it'll be very interesting to see that. And I think VCU will play Michigan and VCU will get the win, setting up Kansas versus VCU in the Sweet 16, and Kansas getting the overall win. In the bottom of the bracket, you have UCLA taking on Minnesota. Minnesota, a very good, best rebounding club in all the country. UCLA, the worst in rebounding percentage. I think Minnesota will easily get the victory out of that. Pick up the boards, of course. Miami will beat Northwest State. Florida will beat Northwest State. Florida will then lose to Minnesota. That is my upset in the South bracket. I don't think Florida has the team to do it. I think the Golden Gophers and Tubby Smith will lead that team into the Sweet 16. Oklahoma and San Diego State. I have Oklahoma beating San Diego State. That's an upset. I also have Georgetown beating Florida Gulf Coast, of course. Georgetown then beating Oklahoma, setting up Minnesota versus Georgetown. Minnesota beats Georgetown. I think I'm going to actually change that. I'm going to pick Georgetown to beat Minnesota in an upset. I just did that right now. Georgetown will beat Minnesota. Georgetown will lose to Kansas in the South bracket. And that's the South bracket for you. In the West, it's pretty much a wrap-up for Gonzaga. I believe Gonzaga will go to the Final Four this year. Gonzaga will have an easy run through. Pittsburgh will not give them a little bit of a shot, but Kansas State will not give them a shot. Upset in this bracket, I think Ole Miss will beat Wisconsin. Another upset for you this evening in the West bracket for you. I think the Lobos of New Mexico State will make it to the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight, lose to Gonzaga. Arizona to beat Belmont. The Lobos beating Harvard. Notre Dame will beat Iowa State. I'm sorry, Nick Kuskevich. I don't think your Cardinals look good this year. I got Notre Dame to beat Iowa State. And then Ohio State will get bounced. Will get bounced in the round of 32 to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame looked very impressive in the Big East Conference Championship. It sets up the Elite in the final Sweet 16 with Kansas State and Gonzaga. New Mexico and Notre Dame. New Mexico beats Notre Dame. Gonzaga beats Kansas State. Sets up the 1-3 matchup. The Lobos of New Mexico taking on Gonzaga. I believe Gonzaga will get the victory in that part. And so you have your three Final Four teams set. You have Michigan State, Kansas, and Gonzaga. Now we look at the East bracket. Indiana's not going to win this bracket. They're going to get upset in the round of 32 to NC State. NC State looks very impressive this year. They have two straight senior point guards that can drain the shot from the three and can nail it. I think Indiana will lose in the round of 32. We'll have our first number one out in this weekend. I think NC State will cruise to the Sweet 16. UNLV versus California. I think UNLV will win. Syracuse will not make it to the Sweet 16 this year because UNLV looks very impressive. I'm going to go with UNLV versus NC State, and UNLV to make it to the final, the Elite Eight in that bracket. In the bottom of the bracket, you have very upsetting. This is my upset in this bracket. I think Bucknell looks very impressive. I don't think Butler has a key victory in them this year. I think Bucknell will win over Butler. Marquette will beat Davidson. That's a given. Then Marquette will beat Bucknell. We'll set up the Sweet 16. Illinois will beat Colorado in the 7-10 matchup. Illinois, a 7 seed. They'll take on the winner of the Miami, Florida, number 2 seed versus Pacific College. A 7-2 matchup. I think Miami will win. Marquette versus Miami in the Sweet 16. Florida and Miami will win that. Miami of Florida will win. It sets up the Elite Eight. UNLV versus Miami of Florida. And I think Miami will win that, and Miami will be in the Final Four. So my Final Four are this: Michigan State, Kansas, Miami of Florida, and Gonzaga. Now Gonzaga and Michigan State, very good, two different clubs. I don't think Gonzaga has it in it for them. I think Michigan State will win. I think Michigan State will win this game. They'll be very impressive, and they'll go into Tom Izzo will take his club into the national championship. Now, Kansas and Miami is a very key matchup. What Miami team will show up? And I think Miami got screwed. They should have been the first #1 overall seed in the NCAA bracket. But, of course, the committee did not see it that way. And, I mean, Miami won the outright ACC championship. They won the tournament championship. Why aren't they the #1 overall seed? Big question. And so that sets up Miami University to win over Kansas, which sets up the final matchup between Michigan State, a 3-2 matchup, Michigan State versus Miami of Florida. You know, I'm a Spartan fan, and what I saw of Knicks and Trayvon Burke looked very interesting this year, but I don't think that they're going to have it for them. I think Miami, Florida will be your national champions this year in college basketball, and they'll win it 59-54 and a final in the Georgia Dome. And that, of course, is the Bracketology 2013. You can use this to help your bracket out. You know, a lot of people you got 4 hours left to go in your bracket filling out. Use this. These are key games. Use these games to bounce off of that, and so much more. You have been watching the Bracketology here on All Andy Alfred on ClayFan 2-3. Have a good time. Enjoy the festivities of March Madness. It's March Madness, baby! As Dickie V always says it. And it'll be very interesting to see if these predictions do come true. You can follow us on our... we have a bracket page open on ESPN. It is under All Andy Alfred. ALLANDYALFRED. All Andy Alfred. Fill out your bracket. We'll get you in there. It'll be very fun to see who reigns supreme as bracketologists in this world of college basketball. But I'll see you for another edition of Bracketology next year. But if you want to watch All Andy Alfred, click on a page across from you and see more of All Andy Alfred. But until then, as always, enjoy the basketball. I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. And especially to the Michigan State Spartans, Miami, Florida, Kansas, and Gonzaga, victory is sweetest. You have tasted defeat. Have a nice day, everybody. Enjoy March Madness, baby. Oh, it's time to hoop it up.